What exactly is this? That is the question I asked myself when I saw the first images of XP Pen's latest device, the Pilot Pro Joystick controller. This isn't a tablet like what we're used to seeing XP Pen produce, but a fancy pants controller. And I was just saying, their old shortcut remote is kind of looking dated. I didn't expect them to swing this far in the other direction though. So let's check it out.
This is Brad. He likes to review the tech. He also likes to draw. And this here is his theme song.
I did a video just about a month ago on a bunch of these kind of shortcut remotes that are used for drawing and controlling your computer, and this one reminds me of one called the TorBox. Now the TorBox is a kind of goofy looking thing with a lot of buttons and knobs that look like they're just slammed in there at random, but once you rest your hand on it, the TorBox makes a lot more sense. I'll link that video down below in the description if you want to check out what else is out there and how everything ranked out. I would put this on that list probably around the same spot as that TorBox. This does look a lot more streamlined than the TorBox though. It would look right at home next to like a PlayStation or something like that. This is designed though to be a left-handed device. The assumption being that your right hand is going to be using your mouse or your computer or drawing, and your left hand is going to be resting on the remote and using the shortcut buttons. And before reading through the instructions, I tried to use this right-handed like a mouse. And your hand just doesn't naturally sit on the buttons when you do that. So that is something to kind of keep in mind. If you are left-handed and that's the hand you draw with or use your mouse with, this probably isn't a great fit for you. This feels a little bit like one of those sideways ergonomic mice. If you've ever tried one of those, my pinky could hit all the buttons on the side, my thumb could hit the buttons on the other side, and I could slide my hand up and down to use the main joystick. When you unbox this thing, it comes with a little pouch container thing to keep it safe, so if you need to travel with it, you're not going to have to worry about it breaking or messing up the joystick or anything. It also comes with a USB cord to plug this in and use it. That's also going to help you charge your battery. You can also go completely wireless with this if you want to connect it via Bluetooth or by using the USB wireless dongle that it comes with. This thing is substantial. It's not quite as heavy as the TorBox, but it does have some weight to it. Also has some rubber grips along the bottom, so it's not going to slide all over your desk, or if you accidentally bump it, it's not going to just move way out of the way. There are some nice touches here, like the buttons along the side flare out just a little bit so you can distinguish where one starts and the other ends if you're just resting your fingers on it, so you have that tactile feel to it without actually having to look at which button you're pressing. All of these buttons are within reach when your hand is resting on the controller, with the exception of these cross buttons along the front. I didn't actually use those or set those too much because they're just not conveniently located for me, and I didn't really feel the need to use them. And then there's a software that lets you go nuts and customize the heck out of it. You want to use it for Lightroom? Go for it. Video editing? Go for it. You want to set this up with any of your favorite drawing programs? You're good to go. Now, if you are drawing and you've ever thought to yourself, it would be fun to sign up for a drawing class, learn some new skills, go at my own speed. Well, check out my Learn to Draw in 60 Days course. Every day, a new lesson. Pick up some new skills, have some fun with it, even use a shortcut remote like this with it. If you want to learn more, check out bradsartschool.com. Cool. So what does each one of these buttons do exactly? Well, when you first unbox this thing, nothing. It is a completely blank slate. Now, I got my hands on this early before it was officially released, and so the setup process was a bit of an uphill climb. Nothing was set up at all. If you've used an XP Pen shortcut remote before, you know that it is preset with some options when you get into the drivers and you start playing around with it. So you might have the dial set to zoom, but you can like toggle it and then change brush size and that sort of thing. Whenever I get one of those, I always dive in and I like to just customize it myself and get it set up the way that I like it with the shortcuts that I use the most. But this thing was completely blank, so I spent a good chunk of my afternoon just figuring out how I wanted to use this thing and slowly setting up my shortcuts one by one. Now, one thing you can do is you can export and import preset files onto this thing, which is great because if you spent a ton of time getting everything set up just the way you like it on one computer and then you move to another computer, you do not want to go through this process over again. It can be pretty time consuming. It also means that you can share some of your presets with other people, or people can post these things online. XP Pen actually sent me a couple presets. They had one for Premiere Pro and another one for DaVinci Resolve. Both of those are video editing programs. I recently just started editing videos with DaVinci, so that's what I went with. It was kind of interesting because I'm still learning the program, so having this like preset for me kind of went hand in hand with it. I was kind of learning both at the same time. It worked pretty well. I ended up doing a few modifications based on the way I was editing, but generally I liked how all the knobs and dials were set up and how they were working. I ended up contacting XP Pen and saying, hey, are you going to have anything for Photoshop or Clip Studio? And they said that they're setting up a portal for people to kind of share these, so there's going to be a lot of user-created presets in the future, I would imagine, on their site that you can download for almost any program you can imagine. Now, this is a drawing channel. I talk about drawing a lot more than like a lot of the other creative pursuits I have here, but as I was using this, I did find it more useful for video editing than I did for drawing. Not that it wasn't like good for drawing. It's just that my drawing workflow specifically is kind of simple. I don't need a lot of buttons and knobs and things like that. Let me change my brush size, maybe do some undos, and I'm off to the races. Also, this is cool. It has haptics in it. So as you turn those knobs, you get some feedback. By default, as you turn a knob or a dial or something like that, it's really smooth. It smoothly scrolls. That was the very first thing I noticed when I used this, is I thought, oh, these are kind of loosey-goosey. But that's where the haptics come in, because once it's plugged in and once you kind of have it set up, when you turn those dials, the haptics are what you feel. And you can go into the settings and kind of adjust those however you want. There's 3 settings for the haptics. One is like hard, you're going to feel it. One is like a subtle bump, and the third one is you can just toggle it off completely. But that's something I haven't seen in one of these drawing remotes yet, and I thought it was a really nice feature. Now, like I said, I don't talk much about video editing here on the channel, so bear with me. I feel like a total pretender when it comes to this stuff, even though I've done it for like several hours a day for 10 years at this point. But having this with a dial set to zooming in and out of my timeline, I thought was really nice. Another one set up for like really precise movements, because a lot of the time you only need to move like a couple frames over and make that cut like at the end of like where you're talking or where you want that video clip to end. And I've just gotten used to using a mouse for that kind of precise movement, but being able to like zoom in and out and go move 1 frame or 2 frames at a time to get those precise cuts, I thought that was really nice. And I was wondering, why haven't I been using something like this all these years? So we've got this one dial in the front, you've got this one around the joystick part, and there's another one that's kind of harder to see, a third dial, which is actually at the top of the joystick. Now, the most prominent part of this entire design is that joystick knob itself right there in the middle. It's the biggest one. And I never really came up with a good way to use it. I can map things to each direction, right? I can map something to the up position, the down position, the left, the right. Then there's an advanced mode that lets you actually do 8 shortcuts. So you could go up into the right, down into the left, that sort of thing. But I never really figured out what to do with it because those movements are so like big and jarring. It's just easier for my thumb to just tap a button along the side. Now this reminds me a little bit of the Space Mouse. Now this is a little device I made a short on last year. I didn't do a full review on it. It's got some special software that makes this thing work kind of like a game controller. And the Space Mouse can help you navigate 3D space in apps like Blender. So you can pivot and roll and zoom in and out and pan. It's really cool. And when I saw this, that is immediately what I thought about. This would be cool to use in 3D space because you have like this joystick controller. But there isn't a way to really set it up to use it that way in Blender. You can use it in Blender. You could set this up to work in any program, but it works the same way that a shortcut controller does in Blender. Like, for example, I could set that joystick like forward to zoom in, backwards to zoom out, which I did, but it's like hitting a keyboard shortcut. It's not a smooth zoom in and out. It just like chunks in, chunks out. And you couldn't do like pivots and rolls and that sort of thing. And the Space Mouse makes that sort of thing feel video gamey and cool and fluid. Okay, quick hits. Things I noticed while using this. I didn't stress test the battery, but they say it'll last about 15 days on a single charge, and I would believe it. I was using it wirelessly, and it just didn't really drain that fast. I don't think you're going to have to charge this that often. Another thing is you can toggle on and off a little cheat sheet for how you set up this remote. So I was using 2 screens, and I had my drawing stuff on my main display, maybe my video editing on my main display, and then on my other screen, I just set up my little like cheat sheet there. And what's kind of neat about that is you can toggle it on and off, but also you can like change the size, you can change the opacity. So if you are using a laptop or something like that and you want it like smaller in the corner, less obtrusive, you could do that. Another thing were the settings. Man, there are a lot of settings here. It was a little overwhelming at first. There are a lot of tabs and a lot of drop downs and a lot of shortcuts, and there's just so much going on. I still don't feel like I've fully grasped everything that this app can do. Now, one of the pet peeves I had here is when I'm using the controller to like edit a video or draw on one screen, I was having my controls pulled up on the other screen. So that way I had my work here and I could adjust the shortcuts as I was going, because as I was using this, I was thinking, oh, I keep using this shortcut, I should map that to this device. But what kind of bothered me here is even though those settings, the settings app that this came with, was not the active window, like DaVinci Resolve was my active window, I could still see whenever I used the remote, like the remote would like change stuff over here on the left hand side. And so while I'm looking over here, I have all this stuff happening in my periphery, and I wish it didn't do that when it wasn't the active window. I've never really seen an app like activate when it's not in the active window like that before. It made setting this up just a little bit longer. I ended up like shrinking down the app, and then I'd work and I'd be like, I should set a shortcut, and then I'd bring the app back up, set the shortcut, find it, go through the settings, shrink it down, go back to what I was doing. If it just wouldn't flip around when it wasn't the active window, it would have been so much easier to set up. Woo, okay. I think that covers my main impressions of this thing. It's a cool, well-built device. I feel the same way about this, the way I do about the TorBox. Even though it's neat, I don't know if it's really worth the price tag for me. Like, it's good, but it's really overkill for how I work. This is more expensive than the really nice keyboard that I have. But there are people out there who have used the TorBox, love the TorBox, and swear by the TorBox. And so I think those folks are going to absolutely love this. And I think some of the little details in here, like the ergonomic design and especially the haptics, are kind of maybe what pushes it above the TorBox here. But what do you think? Let me know down below in the comments. Thank you for watching the video, and I'll talk to you in a couple of days.